Hi, this is Dawn Para, and this is our final presentation for Comm 610. I want to thank all of you in advance for watching my presentation, and I hope you enjoy. Dove, the controversy over real beauty. The many shapes and sizes of real beauty. In introduction, I had posed who is to say what truly can be considered real beauty or beautiful. And to give an example, looking side by side, a visual of the Victoria's Secret models next to the Dove campaign for real beauty women, it's up to you to decide, basically. Continued introduction. Thin models have been dominating the runways for decades, and there's been an immense distinction between what real beautiful women are and those that have been hailed in society by large as being beautiful. And at this point, the modeling industry, you go to the extreme to consider any model over size 6 as a plus size. And only in the past few years has there been somewhat of an awakening with plus-size models who are size 12 to 14 being featured on the cover pages of fashion magazines. Rationale. The Dove campaign for real beauty attempts to set a more realistic standard for beauty by including normal-sized women in their ad campaign. The campaign was designed to send a message about body image. Dove utilized this campaign to promote their products with an emphasis on being happy with who you are. The message is clear: celebrate real beauty. Why is this so important? Advertising and the media play a huge role in shaping societal ideologies about body image, particularly with girls and young adults. Many become obsessed in the pursuit of a flawless, thin ideal that is literally unattainable. And there are those individuals for whom the stakes are even higher, having been afflicted with either an eating disorder or other condition. Through my literature review, there were 3 articles, and each one of them posed a little bit different view of results of the campaign, in so much as how women in society were commenting, particularly, and the majority of it was positive. There were a few who criticized that even the real women who were included in the campaign were not that much bigger in reference to what is being seen in the runways. However, that is unrealistic. There's a big difference. Clearly there is. Thesis. What I propose is that the social realization of the diversity of beauty is what is unquestionably essential today. Therefore, I explore how women have related to the Dove campaign for real beauty. Specifically, I examine web and video components of the campaign as the text that is being analyzed. I conduct this textual analysis of the Dove campaign to explore how well it has been received by women in society. The main question that I'm attempting to answer through this analysis is, how does this make you feel? And what I'm referring to is, in the campaign, how well has the campaign been accepted by women in society? Has it made a difference? And that's really what I mean by how does it make you feel. Theoretical framework. A critical theory lens will be used to interpret the text. The ideology behind society's view of body image and stereotype of beauty is the underlying reason to analyze and illuminate this topic. And why is this important? For society to build the awareness for the reality that young women are faced every day with a barrage of ads including unrealistic body images. And for the study of communication is a great example of the balance of creativity and constraint. In this case, the tension between creativity, Dove's campaign that re-examines the body image norm, and societal constraint of what advertising should look like, which typically includes unrealistic body images. The theory of structuration focuses on the creative and constrained aspects of structure. For an example, a designer is both bound by industry norms and open to the possibility of transcending those structures by designing a creative ad. In this sense, creativity can help to modify social systems through communication. A critical approach will allow perspectives to be examined, challenged, and alternatives to the assumptions of the dominant frameworks to be offered. Within the framework of critical theory, the text, in this case web and video content of the campaign, will be evaluated for how it fits in the broader context of the campaign's controversy over real beauty. Critical theory reveals the hidden power over individuals and society as it poses difficult and important questions about power, control, and the assumed superiority of organizational structures and norms. Methodology. The study of Dove's campaign was approached using ideological criticism. Ideology refers to a set of beliefs, values, and assumptions that constrain and enable our thinking. Ideology structures our thoughts and interpretations of reality and typically operates beneath our conscious awareness, as the medium through which social reality is constructed. Ideological criticism is used to analyze the way different texts are produced and structured to find embedded messages about the dominant ideals and values in our social world. Textual analysis. For my textual analysis, the text being the web and video from the Dove campaign for Real Beauty, I examine and interpret the relevant visual images and language found within the campaign, utilizing a critical approach as my guide. The objective of this paper is not to endeavor to define what real beauty is or what it is not. The purpose of this paper is to analyze and illuminate from a critical perspective the ideologies behind the Dove campaign for Real Beauty and how it relates to women's body images in society. Findings about the Dove campaign for Real Beauty. I thought it was important to give a little bit of background about the campaign. I know many of you have seen the campaign, images of the campaign, either in print ads and or commercials, but having studied it in depth via the web content and the images and the videos, I thought it was important to share. So I'm giving a brief overview in regards to that. The campaign launched in 2004, featuring real women whose appearances were outside the stereotypical norms of beauty. The ad asked viewers to judge women's looks, oversized or outstanding, wrinkled or wonderful, and invite them to cast their votes online. The second and most iconic phase kicked off in 2005, with ads featuring 6 real women with real bodies and real curves. This phase of the campaign was created to debunk the stereotype that only thin is beautiful, and it drove thousands of women to their website to discuss beauty issues. It started a global conversation about the need for a wider definition of beauty. Various communication vehicles were employed to challenge beauty stereotypes and invite women to join a discussion about beauty. In 2010, Dove evolved the campaign and launched an unprecedented effort to make beauty a source of confidence, not anxiety, with the Dove movement for self-esteem. Web content. A bold new vision, the Dove movement for self-esteem. This part of the campaign was really directed towards young women and really girls in general. And being in marketing myself, I know what costs are involved to do these sorts of campaigns. So initially, when I had, through my literature review and read some negative comments from people in society about this campaign not being really true and authentic, more pandering, and I've read a lot of different comments, knowing what it takes to create something like this and the cost involved, I really feel that Dove was truly authentic in wanting to make a difference in society. So I'm going to give a brief overview of this. So many girls and young women develop low esteem from hang-ups about their looks and consequently fail to reach their full potential in life. Dove established the Dove Self-Esteem Fund, which is created to act as an agent of change to inspire and educate girls and women about a wider definition of beauty. The movement for self-esteem. The Dove Move for Self-Esteem provides opportunities to mentor the next generation, celebration of real beauty, key partnerships with the Girl Scouts and Boys and Girls Clubs of America, self-esteem building, educational programs and activities that encourage, inspire, and motivate girls. Dove has reached over 7 million girls so far with these programs and set a global goal of reaching 15 million girls by 2015. Dove's Real Beauty Sketches video, and this relates to the video that many have heard about. Women are their own worst beauty critics. In fact, only 4% of women around the world consider themselves beautiful. That's why Dove decided to conduct a compelling social experiment by video that proves to women something very important. You're more beautiful than you think. And this describes a little bit about how they carried this social experiment out. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Watch what happens when women see themselves through someone else's eyes. Women were told to describe themselves to a sketch artist. In comparison, another sketch was made by someone else describing them. So there were 2 sketches of the same woman, one them describing themselves, and one someone outside, someone that had just met them, describing them. What resulted was astounding. Side-by-side comparisons of both sketches showed that women's descriptions provided a very different sketch. And as you can see, the one on the left was the sketch from the individual's description, and the one on the right is what someone else sees through their eyes. So women are very critical about their looks, almost to the point of distortion. And these are regular women without any any disorders, body dysmorphic disorders. These are just women off the street. Dove produced a compelling short film, Evolution, depicting the transformation of a real woman into a model and promoting awareness of how unrealistic perceptions of beauty are created. This was an awesome video. I suggest anyone to look it up on YouTube. It's amazing to see the magic that is done in studios, and it really pulls the point of, what is beauty. This campaign is also equally as amazing. It's called Onslaught, and the basis of it is to show what young women are faced with, what girls are faced with out there in the media and advertising. They're bombarded with unrealistic, unattainable images of beauty that impact their self-esteem. So this is another video that I highly suggest that you view. Implications. In what ways does Dove's advertising campaign emphasize realistic beauty ideals for women? A more comprehensive understanding of the effects of this campaign can be established by utilizing a critical analysis of women's reactions to this campaign. Critical approaches have been used to explain power inequities and to address the ways that power operates through everyday communication practices, such as language use and images in advertising. Critical theorists point out that ideologies are never neutral. Rather, ideologies serve some organizational groups and interests better than others. The functions of ideology include representing sectional interests to be universal, denying system contradictions, naturalizing the present through reification, and serving as a form of control. Conclusion. By applying the critical theory approach, I posit that Dove has been able to challenge the unfair power of unrealistic body image that is the norm in society. Based on the findings of a major global study, The Real Truth About Beauty, a global report, Dove launched the campaign for real beauty in 2004. Among the study's findings was the statistic that only 2% of women around the world would describe themselves as beautiful. In 2011, Dove released the findings of its follow-up study, The Real Truth About Beauty Revisited. The study revealed that now 4% of women around the world consider themselves beautiful, doubling from the original 2% prior to the campaign launch. Though Dove's efforts have moved the needle in a positive direction, there is more work to be done. What does this all mean? Early on in this presentation, I posed the question to be answered through my critical analysis of this campaign. How does this make you feel? I posit that Dove has been able to balance creativity and constraint, in this case, the tension between wanting to include diverse body images against the societal ideological norm, or the constraint. Dove's campaign for real beauty has made a difference in the opinions and perceptions of body image for women. Here are my references. Real beauty. I want to thank everyone for watching my presentation. I hope you enjoyed. I look forward to your feedback.